I've done so many things wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quit things were taking too long, and Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me, and now you know why I'm so goddamn lit. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate, cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam, and sitting on the cold aluminum throne while I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan, claiming they're kings but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycled lines, no originality, and here I am bringing up clarity while they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lies, they think they're so fly, but I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame, but I'm here to call it out. It's a damn shame, claiming they're the next biggie in the game, but their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla, so similar, like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila, kin to Queen Camilla and her flotilla, and all kinds of furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller of the real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lying tooth, drunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no, man, I'm not so mine. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start, with each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art, painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth in a world full of babble and giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict cooking for a bump to keep up the habit, and the effect seems so damn automatic. This comes with personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing a bag by trying to ball it. See, I'm a redneck with no money, if I pay, I want it. So go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett.
Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed. Digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud. But what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me? Or is it because they can't beat me? Bring the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the fattened things I've seen since I was a boy. The things that made me cry and brought me joy. The good and bad in my life I learned to employ. Taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind. Acting and performing in ways that others have defined, only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game, they don't seem to break out. I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you're lost in the cloud. They feed us the script, gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the ages lurking in the dark corners all about. See I'm breaking free, hear my discernment speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, deception. Together we'll rise and shine. The matrix way twist what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out, trapped in that illusion, and mostly seeing others pout, feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could write this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stats. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day. Somebody's telling me there's no sound. Somebody tell me how long we've been muted. Anybody? You're shitting me. Have no idea why there's no sound. Let me try again. Let me go out, come back. I'll be right back, folks. Okay. Let me see what we got for sound now.
Today's date is Thursday, July 24th. This will be the recording of a proffer agreement of Ghislaine Maxwell from the Deputy Attorney General.
Are we hearing the video? Let me tell me if we're hearing the video. Gotcha, Barney. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. There's a PayPal link down in the details section for anybody who wants to share some love. Always appreciated. Please enjoy.
DOJ, and the time is currently 9:16. Maxwell and counsel are arriving to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we will commence the proffer shortly.
I'm gonna ask everybody to put their name on the record, of course.
Good morning. My name is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Spencer Horn of FBI New York. Today we're doing a proffer of Ms. Maxwell. The date is July 24th, and the time is 10:12 a.m. This interview is being recorded.
And my name is Todd Blanche. I'm the Deputy Attorney General. And before we start formally asking questions of Ms. Maxwell, I'm going to put on the record everybody that's in this room in addition to me. Starting with you,
Diego Pistona, Associate Deputy Attorney General.
And then you heard from Special Agent in Charge Horn, Mark Beard from the United States Marshal Service is here as well. And then David.
Yes, this is David Oscar Marcus, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Leah Sapian, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Melissa Madrigal, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Go ahead.
And I'm Ghislaine Maxwell.
Good morning, Ms. Maxwell. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Okay, so before we started recording, we met for a few minutes. I introduced myself and we chatted, and now I told you that we were going on the record. And before we start asking questions, I know that you've been given by your lawyer a copy of what's called a proffer agreement. And I just want to spend 2 minutes making sure that you understand what governs our conversation today. The most important part of this agreement is that this isn't a cooperation agreement, meaning that by you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to your case to do anything. We're just talking. And so that's the most important part of this agreement. However, almost as important is the fact that what this agreement does for you is it gives you protection. So what it means is that the government cannot use what you say today against you, with some exceptions, which we'll talk about in a minute. But whatever you talk about today, you have what's called immunity. So that means that the words that you say today, we cannot use against you in a case in chief if we were ever to bring one. Okay?
Thank you.
There's exceptions to that. The most meaningful one of which is that if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. So I'm a federal officer. I have several officers here. The FBI is here. And if you lie to someone that's like me or like Special Agent Horn, it's a crime. So you have to be truthful. The other exception to this that doesn't necessarily apply directly to you, but if there ever was a retrial in your case, or if there ever was a criminal case, a future criminal case against you, and your lawyer or you said something different or took a position that's different than what you say today, we can then cross-examine you or witness based upon what you say today. So it's a little bit nuanced, meaning I can't use what you say against you in our case in chief. However, if you were to testify, or if your lawyer called a witness to testify and they said something that is totally different than what you say today, we could then cross-examine you or the witness and say, hey, do you remember when we met with Ms. Maxwell back in July of 2025? She told us, and then say what she said. Okay.
I understand.
Okay. Other than that, I know you didn't have a lot of time this morning to meet with Mr. Marcus, but did you have a chance to go over this briefly with him?
I did.
Okay. All right. So I've already signed it, as has Special Agent Horn,
Okay.
and Mr. Marcus signed it as well. So if you got a pen, please sign it right where it says clients. Yep. And I will provide a copy of this to your lawyer so you guys have it. Okay. Thank you. So Ms. Maxwell, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago,
You see the light blinking on there? On the phone.
yeah, there it is. Okay, we're just confirming that it works, and it does. Ms. Maxwell, I guess about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marcus reached out to me and said that you wanted to speak with somebody from the government about not only your case, but about everything that's been in the media and that's been publicized about Mr. Epstein in your case.
That is true, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him did tell him that I was very keen to talk to anyone, because no one from the government at any time ever since the inception of the case, so dating back to the early 2000s, has ever spoken to me, and indeed I believe ever reached out to me at any time to even speak to me, and that includes up to when I was indicted and prosecuted. I believe that, or I understand I should say rather, that my attorneys at the time did tell the government that I wanted to speak to them, because I was very keen to meet with anyone so that I could tell or have them ask me any question. I've never had any problem to speak to anybody, and I offered myself, and I kept asking if they would meet with me so that I could talk to them, and for whatever reason, that was not happening.
Okay. I have questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not. If there's a path that a question that
We are resuming from.
should be asked, I invite you to volunteer. Same thing goes to your lawyers. Just to start a little bit, very briefly, can you talk about when you first met Mr. Epstein? I know that goes back a while, and just very generally talk about your relationship with Mr. Epstein from the time you met him all the way up until his death.
I met Mr. Epstein in 1991. I'd never heard of him or met him before, and no one in my family had ever either. My father never knew him, and I'll explain why that is the case.
Where did you meet him?
I had a girlfriend who I'd moved to America briefly I moved to America in 1990.
Okay.
Moved is a good word. I'd come to visit America. I had been running my own company up until that time, which was a company called Maxwell's Corporate Gifts. And I had also been working for my father at the time. I'd had multiple jobs with him. I was, in 1990, I was working with a new company of his, a new newspaper that he was launching called The European. And I was in charge of launching a magazine to go with the European. And I was traveling at that time from England to America because my father was looking to, he'd also bought Macmillan, the publishing house, and he had purchased the New York Daily News. And it's true to say that my father always wanted me to come back full-time and work for him, but that's a much longer story I don't think we need to go into at this time. So, but I was always working with him. There was no escaping, as it were, to work for him. So in 1990, I had come over to New York to help look at some of that. He was having some advertising issues with the New York Daily News, and in fact, I may have met Donald Trump at that time because my father was friendly with him and liked him very much. And I think it should be said that he also very much liked Ivana, because she was also from Czechoslovakia, where my dad was from. So I don't remember if I did meet him or not in 1990 with my dad, but I knew that that's how I knew about then Mr. Trump.
And this was before you met
This was before I met
Mr.
Mr. Epstein.
Epstein?
Yes. So I was already going backwards and forwards in America, and then in April of 1991, I came to New York. I can't remember for what reason, what business reason, but there was a business reason, something to do with my dad at that time. And a girlfriend of mine, who an American, told me I'd broken up with I'd been engaged, getting with a very long-time boyfriend, and we broken up. And she said, "I've got, as your girlfriends do, I've got a guy for you to meet." And I was like, "Who is it?" And she goes, he's been dating my sister, and you'll love him. He's looking for a wife. I'm edging towards 30. I don't need to tell you guys that's a very important moment for a girl to like think about important things. Sure, I'd be happy to meet him. And so sometime in 1991, we're in 1991, I met him at his offices on Madison. And I think the most memorable thing I can think about that is he was wearing a tie, which he didn't want to do. It had a giant tomato ketchup stain on it. So I was like, wow, okay. And that was how we met.
Was your meeting at his office for you to meet him just personally, or were you there for work-related reasons?
No, I knew nothing about him. He just invited me to, and I was like, gee, that's English, okay. But what was unusual was in his offices. So I went to his offices and we met. And I found him very engaging, and that was that.
So, okay, so that's how you meet him. So, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time, on this particular issue, but what happened with your relationship over the years from the time you meet him in 1991 up until the time he passed away? Just give the highlights.
Okay, so I was looking for real estate for my dad to buy some, and Epstein told me that he was also looking to move from his apartment and would I help him? And I said, sure, I'm looking already, so I could look for him. So that's how it started. And then in 1991, my father passed away. And I returned to New York after that, originally to come back and help with family businesses, which was millennium. And then the debacle of my father's passing hit the family, and we lost all our businesses. And my family thought that it would be best if I stayed in America because of the intensity of the press and the drama surrounding my father's death in England. So I stayed, and Epstein said, well, you can keep helping me, you can help me find that house, and you can decorate the house, and it gave me something to do.
Were you in a romantic relationship with him at this point, or just friends?
Just friends.
And while we're just, with respect to your father, there have been multiple questions about whether he worked for any intelligence agency. Do you have any knowledge about that?
I think, well, certainly my father had a background in intelligence because he was I think he did in the Second World War. He was a British intelligence officer. I think that my sort of belief is that once you've been an intelligence officer, you're kind of, always it doesn't mean that you're formally employed. So I don't think my dad in any formal sense was employed by any agency. But when you are a very significant businessman and politician, as my father was, you meet with people all the time, and you, I guess, trade business or ideas. I think it exactly fall under that definition. That's how I would think it. Now, he certainly, I have no formal knowledge of anything specifically that he did in that thing, but if you're asking me if I thought that he did help people, the answer would be yes, I do.
Did your father and Mr. Epstein have a business relationship over the years? I know we're maybe jumping around a little bit.
They never met. So,
as far as you know, they never even met.
No,
you know they never met.
I know they never met.
Well, how do you know they never met?
Just categorically know they never met. Well, because after, in 1991, before my father died, he asked me if I'd met anybody interesting or whatever, because I was still trying not to be sucked back into the family business. And I told him that I had met Mr. Epstein, and the reason why I shared that I'd met Mr. Epstein because I believed at that time that Epstein worked for P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S, and P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S was one of our banks. And I knew that my father was friendly with both Jimmy Kane and with Ace Greenberg. So my dad, Kate, was actually in New York, I think. If I don't think I had this conversation on the phone, but I honestly, we're talking 30 years ago, so I'm not sure. But maybe I told him this verbatim because I know that what my dad did, whether I saw it or whether he did it and told me later, I that I don't remember, but he called both Jimmy Kane and Ace Greenberg to ask if what sort of guy he was and was he even allowed to his government. So
So they never met.
he didn't even know
But they
he was.
had. They knew some of the same people. Sounds like, or certainly the Bear Stearns connection was something that you knew that they had.
No, well, he never had a connection with Epstein. He had a connection with the bank. I mean, Epstein, I'd never heard of him or knew of him before. And I certainly, if my dad had known him, right, when I said this is who he was, he didn't know who he was. So he rang Ace and he rang Jimmy to ask if it was okay that I even knew him. And I just want to explain briefly why my father would even do such a thing. I've had some interesting things that have happened in my life, and one of them was to be found on an IRA kidnap and murder list. And so after that happened, well, there were other related, I'm not going to bore you with all the horrible things in that vein, but if you want the details, of course, I can. But after that happened, my father wanted to put a lot of protection on me, obviously. And I declined on the grounds that that would be a very life-restricting event. You're all in law enforcement, I know you understand this. And so he had told me that, I would be taking my life in my own hands and whatever. And so I think after that event and several others where I had stalkers and all that things that one has, he was always quite protective of me. And so if I met somebody, he would try and verify that they weren't going to do anything hideous. And so in case you thought it was weird that he would call Jimmy and Ace, you may think it is, but from my perspective, he was just because he was concerned I was in America alone, and he had an opportunity to verify who this person was. And so I don't know if I was in the room with him, I don't recall it. I know that at some point my father told me, he's fine, you can see him.
Yeah.
He's safe.
Okay.
Well, okay.
So we might come back and touch a little bit more on that at some point, but
yeah.
I went down a rabbit hole for a minute.
That's right, I just wanted to.
No, that's helpful, thank you. So, okay, so you're now in the 90s and you're friends with Mr. Epstein, your house, decorating the house or the apartment. What happens with your relationship again? I know we're talking about a 35-year time period or whatever, but to the extent you can kind of at a very high level talk about it.
Listen, I think just full disclosure is the best way to go at this point. Yeah. So in 1992, I slept with one time, and I was like, "Oh, that's it. We're going to be dating," because that's how I thought. And I kind of thought of myself in that moment, like, because I felt if you slept with someone that you were then dating them, that's the world I came from. But that really was, well, that's how it was. But we didn't sleep together again for, I don't know, really a significant period of time. And when I say
years or
I don't know if it's a year. That feels long, but maybe 9 months. I mean, a long time. I just want to go back. So I had found a house for him to rent in New York because he had asked me. I'd been looking one for my father, and I found one, which was a former Iranian embassy. I think it was. I think it belonged to the Iranians or the Iraqis. Someone.
Okay.
And I didn't know that he had any money. Really. It was like, I want to say it was $12,000 a month, which to me seemed like a fortune. And I said, I found this house, I don't think you can afford it. It's ridiculous. Of course I can afford it, rent it. And that house came with, it was a State Department house because it was, I think it was under sequestration or whatever it was. And I put it back together, but there was certain rules you couldn't paint because it had to get back, and gave it back to the country. So he had this house, and I had moved into a 10-foot by 10-foot apartment because all of our stuff had been either lost or frozen or whatever. So he became in this moment of my life free because everything was, it felt very similar to his life, if that makes sense. Anyway, so, but I had no key to his house. I had no free access to his house. And in the entire time that he lived there, which was, I believe, until the beginning of 1996, I never slept a single night in that house. Ever.
But you said a minute ago that that you had slept with him on one occasion, and at the time you remember thinking, that this meant you were in a relationship, but then it didn't. You really were not in that type of relationship.
Well,
did that change between 91 and 92 or whatever, and years forward?
So I did travel with him a lot.
Okay.
So I would go to his houses in Palm Beach. He only had that house actually. No, that's not true. He had the house in Palm Beach, and he had a house in Ohio.
Somewhere.
Ohio.
Okay.
And he had the house in Ohio because of his business relationship with Mr. Wexner. And he had and I had to go and decorate and put that house together. When we traveled together, we stayed in the same bed, but not in. But I didn't.
Go ahead. It's okay. Talk. So you stayed. So when you would travel with him to his houses in Palm Beach, Ohio, or even just traveling, if it was just traveling with him, you would stay in the same bed. So sleep in the same bed with him.
Yes.
Okay.
Epstein told me that he had a heart condition.
A what?
Heart condition.
Heart condition. Okay.
Which meant that he didn't have intercourse a lot, which he didn't find, because I actually do have a medical condition, which proves me having a lot of intercourse.
So what was your understanding of his heart condition and why that prevented him from having intercourse regularly?
I mean, he liked other forms of sexual activity.
Well, let's come back. We're going to obviously spend a lot of time on the actual conduct he was accused of. So we'll come back to that. So pick up where you were talking about you traveling around with him. He rented the New York former Iranian house until around 96. That time, I believe you said that he was basically your life, like you were with him pretty regularly.
Well, no. Okay. So I never was with him regularly. That is one of those misnomers. I mean, at the beginning, I did see more of him, but I worked in his office. So I would go to the office and I would see him. And I would count in my head when I would see him, I would count that that'd be a day that I would see him. But I never ever stayed with him. I believe, certainly until 92 or 94, what I didn't know was that I think he was still with his actual girlfriend, who was Eva Anderson then, who became Eva D.U.M.B. They had been together, my understanding, I think about 10 years. I'm not sure, but that's what I think, 10 years. And I had understood from my girlfriend initially that they were together, and Epstein himself had told me that they were not together, but I don't think that is true. In fact, I know it's not true. So they were still together up until, I think, 94, when at some point in that period, and Eva met Glenn Dubin, and they got married. I think in 94, I don't remember when they got married. But her, she was his best friend and his everything. He told me that he always wished that he had married her and had a child with her. And I know that she was family for him for his whole life. And I think even, I'm not sure this is true, but you guys will know if this is true or not. When he came back from Paris and you arrested him, I don't know if Eva was on the plane. Now, I think that either I read it in the discovery that I received, or I saw it somewhere, but even if she wasn't on the plane, there must have been some email communication where she was in Paris at the same time, or anything like that. One or the other, I don't know which one is the correct version. But so they were still obviously very close and remained throughout the entire fact. He was still her love. And so I also know now, which I didn't know at the time, was that he saw lots of other women. And I know that now because I can see it from the flight logs, and I know it now because I can see from the emails.
So you know from the case,
yes,
that what happened.
Yes, I didn't know
that a lot.
Contemporaneously, I absolutely didn't know.
So so just we're going to spend time on everything you're talking about, but just to kind of close out big picture your relationship. So we're now in the late 90s. Continue on with, again, saying high level to the extent you can about your relationship with him.
So my responsibilities increased with each acquisition that he put and each new project. So I believe the first thing that he purchased after was the ranch in New Mexico.
Okay.
And so what he had tasked me with up until, I think that was purchased in 94, if I'm right. So he had tasked me, one of the things that we did was visit, in my mind I say every state, but it wouldn't have been every state, but many states, to go look at real estate property. And so I know we went to Montana, I know we went to Utah, and it it was to go look at real estate, to be honest. And then I arranged for us to go to New Mexico, and he just loved New Mexico. And then I don't remember how the ranch happened. I don't remember that now. It's lost. And then he ended up buying the ranch. And I think, if I'm right, it came from the kings who named him the governor. I bought the ranch, and then I had to deal with that. And dealing with that was extensive. I mean, the way that I thought of myself, or the way that I think is the best way to explain how I view my role, was as a general manager, because each property to me was like a hotel. So the ranch was very challenging, because not only that, but it had BLM land. So to have maintain your BLM, you had to have cattle. And I love animals, and so the first thing, horses, and so I wanted it. If you're going to have a ranch, I like authenticity, so I don't think you should have a ranch if you're not going to have the things that make it special.
So were you paid by him along the way?
So I
during this
became salaried at some point. My memory is that I got paid $25,000 a year to begin with. That's my memory. I may be wrong. And then with each, as it became more obvious, because I kept thinking I was going to have a home thing, and but it.
Did you, and financially, you were not relying on him, the 25,000 or whatever amount, were you relying on that money to live and his generosity to live, or did you have your own money?
So there's a.
And again, I want to just make sure we're talking about keeping it between like the late 90s, maybe I guess into a little of the 2000s.
I just want to hit something on the head right now. There's a tremendous amount of reporting that said that I had a trust fund. Thank you. A trust fund. I have never had a trust fund at any time.
So how did you live? Did you live with I mean, 25,000 is not enough to live on.
No. So I had, during this period of time, the serious fraud squad attempted to me in relation to my father's passing, and to establish whether I had been involved in any way with his business or with any shenanigans. I think I've told the story many times, so I don't know if it's now somewhat hypocritical, but I'll tell you what my memory is. So I received a letter from them that said, "Get about my business," and my memory, maybe hypocritical, was a P.S. It said, "Maybe Snow-White's cousin." I had nothing. I was never involved in any of his business, whatever. So I was free. And
but obviously your father and your family had a lot of businesses. Is it because the money, whatever money or whatever equity was in the businesses, just stayed with your other family members?
No, there was no money. So my father was never attached to money. He was born a peasant, a real one. Dirt floor, no shoes, no clothes. Some clothes, but not, sorry, I didn't mean to say, and nothing. And he was never into that. I mean, there were things that he had, his extravagances. He loved his boat and his plane. So obviously you need money for that, but there was nothing else. And there was not a single penny that came to any of us at any point, ever.
Okay, so when you're talking about your life with Mr. Epstein in the 90s, you're very different financially. You're very different financially positioned than he is. Meaning,
Absolutely.
He's giving you money. He's paying for when you fly. He, I assume, pays for your flights.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I interrupted you when you were saying how you were functioning as general manager. You helped with the New Mexico ranch. So did your role with him continue like that for many years, or for how long?
So I continued in 2000. Well, by 1999, our relationship had foundered.
Why?
Well, 2 reasons. We were never sleeping together again, so we stopped having sexual relations in 1999. Not full sex, sorry, to be clear. Didn't mean that we didn't still share a bedroom sometimes or whatever. He had another girlfriend.
He had what?
Other girlfriends. I definitively knew that it was over after 9/11, actually, because we were both in New York. And I don't know, were you in New York? I mean, 9/11's. And it was a scary time if you were in New York. You didn't know. I didn't know. Nobody knew what was going on. And he was in 71st Street, and I was in 65th Street, my house. And he wouldn't see me at all. Asked me, his mum, who I'm very close to, was in the hospital at Benefactor, just asked me to look after her. And then I knew, as anyone did at that time, if you're not going to be there for someone in 9/11, you're never going to be there. So for me, that was the mindset. And he had another English girlfriend, actually. from 2000.
Are you though still on his? Are you still being paid by him at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. So what at that point when you say you realize kind of?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about I wanted to get married and have children, and Epstein had encouraged me to believe that would, I don't know about them, certainly by the late 90s, I knew the marriage part was never going to happen. I had believed that maybe in 96, 97, 98 maybe, but then I realized it wasn't that. But I did think that we might have a child, which is what I had really wanted. I realized.
So what happens between 2001 and then 2019 with your relationship with him?
So
give or take 2001.
So we stopped having physicality. I mean, that doesn't mean we weren't friends. I certainly did stay sometimes in his room. I mean, friends with benefits, if you will, just not sex. So, and I started dating.
Okay.
And I met someone that I fell very much in love with in 2003. His name was Ted Wade. Ted Wade, you may know as the founder of the computers. And we had an amazing relationship that ended went on until 2010, I think, and I was with Ted from that time.
Did you meet him through Mr. Epstein?
No, well, indirectly, I suppose you could say. No, they never met. I was at a dinner where I met Ted, but it wasn't. I was with President Clinton. President Clinton was my friend, not Epstein's friend. And Epstein had flown him. And I was at dinner, and Ted came to the dinner. So I guess indirectly through Mr. Epstein, because it was his name, but I'd been there anyway without him. So
Was Epstein on the plane when you guys flew?
On that trip, yes. Oh, well, yes. Yes.
So when you say the dinner was where?
Hong Kong.
Okay. And so you had flown over with, so who was on the plane for that trip? I don't mean everybody, but you said so Mr. Epstein was on the plane?
Yes.
You were on the plane?
Yes.
Who else? That you can remember? I'm not, you only know what you remember.
Was President Clinton on the plane?
Clinton. He would have had his guy, D.U.M.B, maybe Jason Cooper, maybe traveled to. Oh.
And so why, so how did you meet? Why do you say that's when you met him and that you met him through Clinton?
Well, I don't think Ted would have been there had it not been it was a President Clinton dinner, and Ted came to be with President Clinton, not to be with Mr. Epstein. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why I say that.
Okay, so so in the time that you're dating, that you're with him to 2009, are you still working for Mr. Epstein during that time?
It'd be true to say that Jeffrey tried very hard, Mr. Epstein tried very hard to keep me, to work for him, because, I mean, this is a complex operation. I'm not talking about anything untoward, just the sheer size of the projects. I'm talking about construction projects, the houses, the staff. It's a really significant job. And I ran all the properties, the staff in the property, the management of the properties, and the construction. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars that I invested in. I can't remember what my budget was for construction on any given year. It's gone, but these are very significant projects, and so that was what I did, and I managed the budgets. Well, I didn't manage the budgets; I oversaw the budget. So just make sure that if you said you bought an air conditioning plant, I saw an air conditioning plant, and I could call the island manager. Did you receive the carrier, whatever,
When did Mr. Epstein purchase the island?
I want to say 96 or 97, something like that.
Okay, so we're going to come back and spend more time on the money with respect to Mr. Epstein and his wealth, but just so we can finish this. So in 2009, you end your relationship with Ted?
2009, 2010.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was 10.
Okay. So in that time period, what happens next as far as your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
I don't have one.
You don't have one of him, like, you don't see him, or it's just a different relationship?
I maybe saw him once or twice, or maybe even 3 times. I certainly went to his house once, for sure. Maybe twice. But I was not seeing him. The only time that I was in touch with him was when the things happened, like things in the press that affected me, or when the C.O.W.A.R.D.S case was filed and there was all that rubbish that went out, because I needed information. Because I didn't know anything about what was happening, and I needed his help. doesn't make sound right. Rephrase that. I don't mean his help. I meant to have answers so that I had an ability to defend myself. That's what I think. I'm not.
So when does that relationship change? So you're working. You talked about when the physical relationship stopped, and then you're still working for him or with him, managing his properties and serving as like a general manager. You then start your own relationship with another individual with Ted from 2003 till 2009 or 10. At what point in that whole period is there like more of a break where you're no longer acting as a general manager?
I wanted to have a full break when I started dating Ted, and he was clever. I suppose it would be true to say that I sort of viewed Mr. Epstein at that point as sort of family, if you will, like someone I could rely on, and I should have had more confidence in myself. I can see that now, but at the time, given everything that had happened in my life, I thought that it was, and I saw how he was with other people like Eva, who seemed to be very comfortable and saying that. I thought this would be, and he always said I was like family, so he worked hard to maintain a relationship with me. He was generous with me. He let me use the plane, for instance, which was very generous. He would check in with my mum. Things that were meaningful to me in that time. And then it may still not have worked, but that his mother, Paula, had been in a very serious car crash, and she had become sort of like a surrogate mother for me. Sort of because my mum wasn't there, I could look after her the way that I would. The way that I would have liked to look after my own mum. So I became very close to his mother, and she had been in a car crash, and in 2004, I believe, it may have been 5, I don't recall exactly, she took her health took a serious decline. And Epstein called me and asked me if I could look after her. By looking after her, that meant organizing her doctors, making sure she had new clothes, making sure her house was clean.
Where was she?
She lived in a retirement establishment outside of Palm Beach, it's West Palm. I was going to say something like the Golden Girls, but it's not called that. I just don't remember what it's called. But it was an old age. It was a retirement home, if you will.
Todd, I don't know. We've been going for maybe about an hour now. Is this a good time?
Yeah. So we'll take a break. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a break. The time is 10:56. All right, we're continuing the proper interview with Ms. Maxwell. The time is 11:07 a.m. on Thursday, July 24th.
All right. So just picking up where we just stopped. So you have basically a break. Well, not a break. That's the wrong word. But your relationship with Mr. Maxwell, professional and other changes in 2003-4.
Yeah, I mean, over the time that I stay with Ted, the more time I'm with Ted, the more distance I have with him. And then when the arrest, well, let's go back, whatever happened in 2005 and he became arrested in 2006.
So when he's charged and arrested in what we'll call the Florida investigations, that's what you're talking about.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was not in, well,
were you part of that investigation?
Absolutely.
Did law enforcement ever talk to you as part of that? Did you, like, the feds never talked to you?
No.
The FBI never talked to you?
No. I never even received a phone call.
So you didn't receive a subpoena?
No.
Did the state law enforcement ever reach out to you?
No.
As far as you know, did the government, either state or federal, subpoena your bank records or subpoena anything from your financial life during that time?
Not as far as I'm aware. Now, if they did, I don't know it, and I have no idea about that. To be honest, but I'm not aware of it, and I would say no. But maybe you guys do things that I don't know.
So how did you learn of that case when Mr. Epstein was arrested, or did you know that something was happening before then?
The first thing I knew was he had told me he was deciding to redecorate the house in Palm Beach. It didn't surprise me. It was like a rolling situation.
But by that time, are you like, he tells you because he wants your help, or had your relationship changed by this time where you were no longer kind of acting as his general manager?
No, I was still around. I wasn't gone. I was with Ted. I was traveling. I wasn't daily. If you'd asked me where he was in any given time, I'm not sure I would have known then. I mean, it was, I felt like, I suppose the relationship moved into sort of like long-term friend, family, like I felt he had with Eva, if I'm honest.
Okay, so he says to you he's going to redecorate the Palm Beach house.
He asked me specifically which decorator he thinks he should use, because I had a lot of contacts with decorators, and he was not very good with people. He was useless at maintaining relationships with people who work for him. I'm not. So, anyways, I think I recommended, I can't be 100% sure because it's been a long time, but I think I recommended Mark Zeff at that time.
Who?
Mark Zeff,
Okay.
I believe. And I don't know why. I don't remember. That's all lost to time. But anyway, at some point, I think his mother had died now. I can't remember the timing of all of that either.
Okay.
But I ended up in Palm Beach, and he had asked me to come and look at the swatches or whatever he was doing, because they had laid it all out over the house and various things. And I think he'd asked for my opinion. That's my memory of this. It may also be that Ted and I were going to Palm Beach because Ted had a golf match or something. There was a reason I was in Palm Beach. It wasn't solely, maybe that's not true either. I don't know. So
Okay.
There's sometimes I went to Palm Beach because Ted was there. I don't know if that's part of that time or not. Or Ted went there and left me. I don't know. Something. Anyway, I was there. No, that's not how that went either. No. Anyway, at some point in that time, I saw all the swatches. At some point in 2005, I think that was. And then I believe, I don't remember. I think I got a phone call, actually. I wasn't in Palm Beach. I think I got a phone call that there was a police at his house or something. There was.
Would you got a phone call from him, or you think you just told by somebody that knew that it happened, or don't you remember?
Definitely not him.
Okay.
I think it would have been the house.
So when that happens, whenever it was, that's kind of the first time you know that Mr. Epstein's being investigated for.
I didn't even know I didn't even understand.
Okay.
I didn't have a context for that. It was like I didn't even know. I didn't know. I'm not sure even what I thought. I was like, that's weird.
After you find out about it, what happens with your relationship with him?
I asked him what was going on, and he said, "Not to worry, nothing, taking care, don't worry about it." And I was like, well, and then it all went quiet. He didn't say, he didn't share. I wasn't part of it at all. I was off with Ted, and I really just.
Did he tell you? Well, why don't we come back to more specifics around that time period in a few minutes? I want to just finish this opening part. So that case goes on. Ultimately, it ends. What was your relationship like with him during that case when he goes? When he gets sentenced?
He told me. He said, "Listen, I'm going to jail." I was like, oh, "Okay." And he goes, "I'd like you to stay on board to manage the properties, the animals, this and that, and just stay put, and I'll continue to pay you in case there's any emergency. I don't trust anyone." And I was like, "Okay."
Well, when you said continue to pay you, he
never stopped paying me.
He never stopped paying. So even when your relationship changes, does the amount increase from the 25,000 or so a year in the beginning? Like, how much are you getting paid yearly?
I think it ended at the time. Well, we had different payment structures, and I'm happy to explain how that works. But I think salary-wise, if I'm right, it ended at around $250,000 a year.
How much?
$250,000, 250,000.
And when did it end? When was that it stopped?
2008 or 9.
So
9. When did he come out of jail? Whenever he came out of jail.
Okay. So, and over the years, it increased from what you said was you thought about 25,000 to 250,000. That's between like early 90s until 2009 or 10, whenever he stopped. Is that right?
Yes.
And how were you paid?
W-2.
W-2 from what company? Or do you?
He just moved me around over to this company there. I didn't care.
Okay.
And I didn't care. And I didn't think that I didn't understand any rhyme or reason. It doesn't. I was, whatever.
Okay. So when he's going to go to jail, he says, "Can you stay around and manage everything?"
Yeah.
And do you do that?
I do.
Okay. And then we'll come back to that.
I will not manage everything. No. I mean, there are other people at this point. My specific role then was very, very diminished. Okay. I reviewed the bill structure that came from the constructions that was storming the island.
Okay.
And wherever else it was going, Paris at this point, because I speak French, I'm fluent in French. And also my relationship with the French decorator was critical to him. In the French component part of that aspect was really vital. And so you'd have had to find someone who was, and the Spanish, trilingual. You would have had to find someone who was trilingual and that he trusted.
Did you?
To not steal from him.
Did you? So when he gets out of jail, between that time, 2009 to 10, and 2019, what's your relationship like with Mr. Epstein?
All right, we're going to take a quick break so everybody can get away from their devices, go grab a bite to eat, and grab a drink, go to the potty, and go to the bathroom or something, and we shall be right back. Please enjoy the intermission.
It's a shit show, but it's a hit, yo. Panel full of talkers, all bark, no soul. Drama's on tap, spilling fast and loud. Dollar signs flashing when they rile the crowd. Super chats rolling, they pay for the beef. Truth takes a backseat, clouds the belief. It's a shit show, baby, prime time go. Numbers climb high while the morals get sold. Turn up the heat, let the chaos flow. Ain't about truth, it's a rodeo. If the views keep coming and the cash still grow, I'll stop the circus, let the madness go. Fake tears fall and the mic gets cut. One's playing victim, the other talks tough. Receipts get dropped, now the chat's on fire. A digital bonfire built from liars. But every low blow makes the money ring, so they keep on dancing in that drama swing. But it's a shit show, baby, prime time gold. Numbers climb high while the morals get sold. Turn up the heat, let the chaos flow. Ain't about truth, it's a real deal. If the views keep coming and the cash still grow, I'll stop the circus, let the madness go. There's a spotlight on the petty, and fame's just clicks away. They don't care who they bury, as long as someone pays. It's a shit show, baby, but the lights still shine. Even fake crowns look good online. One big game where the real get paid, but the scoreboard's few, so the lights stay paid. Yeah, it's messy, ugly, and kind of slow, but welcome y'all to the shit show.
Almost non-existent.
Why?
I had just moved on, and I just didn't want to have anything. I didn't want the drama. I didn't want to be associated with.
So do you recall, when you say almost non-existent, does that mean
Doesn't mean it
some
was.
phone calls, some visits, some trips? Or what does it mean?
I don't think there were any trips. Oh, I don't think so.
And where were you living during that time period, or was it
Which time period?
between 2009, 10, and 2019?
I was back in New York.
So you had no. So you had phone calls with him on occasion?
Yes. Well, I certainly did. Whenever there was any legal drama or any like serious press attention, I always called him to try and find out what was going on.
Okay.
And I did email him at that time for those types of details. I was like, what do I do? I was like.
And then when he's charged in New York federally, yes. How did you learn about that case?
In the press.
And had you, as far as you know, been contacted by law enforcement before his arrest?
No. I wasn't in an indictment.
No, I know that, but even as a witness or asking you if you would give documents or materials.
I had never, up until when my lawyers said that, I don't even know, I had no knowledge of them being interested in me. Honestly, I want to say until he had died. Now, I know that my lawyers were in touch with some district of New York at some point after his arrest. I'm pretty sure that had to have happened, right?
Okay.
But my understanding is that they had not shown any interest. I know my lawyers went to see them once, I believe. And
went to see him, meaning Mr. Epstein?
No, them, the Southern District of New York.
Southern New York.
Sorry. And that they had been in touch with them. And
But now you're talking about after Mr. Epstein died, or are you talking about before he died?
I think
If you can remember.
it's easily verifiable. My memory is that they were in touch with him when he was arrested.
Mhm.
I don't know if anything happened until after his death, then after that.
Okay.
I don't think they saw them, met with them, Southern District of New York I'm talking about now, until after he died. I know that they were in regular telephone contact with them, and that my lawyers believed that they had been told that there was no interest in me.
Okay.
And were absolutely stunned when I was arrested. But maybe stunned is too big a word, but surprised. I certainly was.
Okay. So so that's was a long description of what was a very long life, and that was very helpful. So I want to go back and talk more specifically now about particular areas, and that was a very helpful kind of foundation for us. The first thing I want to talk about, you talked about earlier on about Mr. Epstein's financial success. Do you know how when you first meet him at some point, you say, I got this place for you to rent, you can't afford it, and he laughs at you and says, yes, I can. What did you learn about his wealth and how he was, and how he accumulated his money?
I can tell you what he told me.
Yes.
So I know that he was hired from working at a private school whose name eludes me at this point. Dalton. He was working at Dalton as a math teacher. And he met, I think it was Ace, I'm not sure. He met someone from Bear who hired him because he was very good at math. And I believe that he then worked on creating a trading of
Just describe it. It's okay. Go ahead.
He kind of came up with some new type of trading system, not a system so much, but as a vehicle, a trading vehicle.
Okay.
I'm just escaping right now.
And this is while he was working at Bear.
At Best-Ends, yes.
Okay.
And whilst
And was this before you met him?
yes,
So this is what he told you,
yes,
and what you learned.
yes, this is what he told me
Okay.
himself.
And then eventually he starts a financial firm. Do you know that to be true or no? J.P.C.U.N.T.S Company. You ever heard of
I think
that?
yes. So hang on a minute. So this I did not know, but this I have subsequently learned is that
Okay.
he had some problem or some issue at Best-Ends, and there was some, I don't know, disagreement. He wasn't fired because obviously he was still very friendly with Ace and with Jimmy, at least by the time I met him. But they were working with him, and he had money at Best-Ends. So his money, his clients' money. I'll come to that. But he told me himself that he started a business where he looked for stolen money. So if somebody, let's see, trying to think of some intelligent way to say it, but I can't think of anything. I've been with, not very, I'll give it to you. So let's say you have El Chapo. God, I don't know where he comes from, but anyway, we've got El Chapo, and El Chapo's laundering money, or he's working with the Sinaloa cartel, and he steals money from the Sinaloa cartel and he moves it to wherever. So he's got stolen money from the Sinaloa, goes to it. This didn't happen. I'm just just coming up with something in my head. And the Sinaloa says that, can you track down my $1 billion that the other cartels stole from me? And Epstein will go and find the $1 billion and will take a portion of the money that was stolen as a fee and give back the remainder. That would be on a percentage basis.
No, but like what you just described, which I appreciate what you said.
Please, that's
but that would involve like, so two kind of drug cartels stealing from each other. Practically speaking, he was more of a businessman.
So
correct?
Here's how I think it started, is that he had a girlfriend. It was always good. You're always to the girls. I guess there was a girl whose name will come back to me. Maybe not whilst we're here. I don't know. Maybe there's a woman. There's always a woman. And she was the daughter of a billionaire, for instance. And that billionaire, whatever his name was, had some money stolen. And for some reason, this woman introduced Jeffrey, and Jeffrey, I think that's how that business started. That's what I remember.
And is that something he told you about, or something that happened while you knew him?
No, something he told me before I met him.
And so when you meet him, and once you're part of his life in the early to mid 90s, what is he doing to make money that you see? Does he have clients? Does he have rich clients? Does he have famous clients? And what if he does have clients, what service is he providing them?
He does have, well, obviously there's the one very famous client that everybody talks about, which is S.W.A.P now. And that was a very important client to him. And I think it's probably helpful to describe what I know to be true about what he managed for us. And there's some bits that I'll be improvising.
Yep.
I want to just make you understand, I was not part of Epstein's business world, except tangentially and obviously. So what I'm talking about is what I observed, or what I overheard, or what I saw within the business, but I wasn't responsible for any of the client's money or anything like that. So it's separate.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So with less, for instance, it was really all encompassing. It could go from the structure of the business. So he structured or restructured the limited. I know that. And I'll come back to that because I also traveled with him in US, and I was in business meetings with them on the plane when they were there. So I could observe and I could hear some of this. And whilst I'm not necessarily terribly business sophisticated, I'm sophisticated enough to be able to at least have some knowledge of what was happening. All right, so then he restructured the business. He restructured his entire personal finances, and would also handle all of the investment strategy. I don't know if it was 100%.
Mr. Wexler, you're saying.
Sorry, yes. This is all Wexler I'm talking about now. So let's say you had $1 billion to invest. So you would, in people's normal investment portfolios, you'd have, some T-bonds and this and that. But Epstein strategies would be much more sophisticated than that.
And so just staying with Mr. Wexler, from what you heard or saw, is Mr. Epstein paid by him in percentages? Like, so there would be a deal and he would be paid, or did you understand it to be like a flat fee? Was he a business partner? Like, how did you understand him to be paid?
I think it was more a la carte. So let's say, this is a conversation actually Epstein told me. So illustrated for me, said if I saved someone $5 billion, he would take a flat percentage of that $5 billion. He wouldn't have $5 billion back.
When you say you think that, is that because you heard him talking about that, or you?
It'd be a combination of both. I certainly told me that, and I heard him talk to people like that. I couldn't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No.
Did Mr. Wexler gift a property in New York to Mr. Epstein?
So we're talking about 71st Street. So I don't know what the business deal was, because again, I'm not part of his business thing, but I think what happened would be that, let's say S owed him, theoretically, for his services, 100 million, or whatever it was. He could have traded that against the property.
But do you know that happened, or do you remember whether there were conversations about that, or are you just thinking that could be one way that it happened?
I'm not sure. And I'm not trying to be, I just don't remember if that's something I know, or if that's something that I remember, or if it's something that I subsequently know. I believe that to be what happened, but I don't want to tell you that I have. Does that make sense?
Did Mr. Wexner and Mr. Epstein, are you aware of their falling out that they ultimately had?
I think I wasn't there, and I don't know how it happened. I only know what Les has said in the press.
So you only know about their falling out, or whatever you want to call it, from what you've kind of read, not from any firsthand knowledge. You weren't there. You weren't part of that.
Correct.
Do you know somebody named Stephen Hoffenberg?
Only from the press.
Okay. And so you don't know anything about whatever business relationship they may have had, Mr. Epstein?
Never spoke about him, never mentioned it. I only learned about that, whatever that is. I don't even know what the truth is of that story, from the press.
How about Leon Black?
Oh, I did meet Leon. I do know Leon.
When do you remember, and again, I know we're talking about a very long time ago, but do you remember approximately when you met him?
I could have met Leon, not really. So I might have met him, nothing to do, because Leon Black is very good friends with other friends of mine. I would have met him, when I say socially, I might have met him. How Leon and Epstein became really good friends, I'm not sure.
But not through you, as far as you know?
Not through me, as far as I know, no. I'm sure that's not through me.
Do you know what kind of work Mr. Epstein was doing for Mr. Black over the years?
Same as what he did for Wexner.
So we just talked about two individuals. And again, I know we're talking about maybe a 15-year time period or even longer. How many clients like that did Mr. Epstein have?
Well, why don't I just give you the names that I remember? And
Say it again?
Why won't I just give you the names?
Yeah.
Do you want the names?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Elizabeth Johnson, Johnson & Johnson.
As far as you know, when did the relationship between Ms. Johnson and Mr. Epstein start?
90s. 95, 96.
So during
90s.
the time period?
Yes, we're talking 90s. We're talking when I was there.
And how did the relationship start?
I don't know how he became that friendly, why he ended up managing her money. I wasn't there. I mean, I really had a separate life. We really had separate lives, except where they
But it wasn't from
It wasn't from me.
you.
No, it was not.
Okay. And what's your understanding of what Mr. Upton did for Ms. Johnson?
Same as what he did for Wexner. And when you have to understand, it went down to in tiny detail. So I remember this is an actual memory, that he would make the contracts for the maids, for the people who worked in their homes.
So he would assist his clients at times with, you're saying, with even small things like contractual
He
relationships.
said
with-
no
with
detail was too small because everything that affected how they lived and how they managed their life was something that he felt he was, if they wanted, would be responsible for, to make sure that the contract, so that if you had to fire someone, it wouldn't come back and sue you, or if that sort of thing.
Okay, so Mr. Black, Mr. Werner, Ms. Johnson, who else?
Yeah, that's the name of the woman from Ohio.
There's someone named Jess Staley.
Yeah, I do know Jess.
Who's that?
He was at Morgan Stanley and at Barclays.
What do you know whether he and Mr. Epstein had a relationship?
Well, not a physical one.
I didn't suggest it.
Sorry.
No, I'm saying a relationship in the broadest sense of the word, business, personal,
Yes.
both. Okay.
Yes, both.
Okay. And do you know when they met?
No, I don't know when they met.
Um,
But you can time it. Oh, I don't know that you can. No, I don't know.
so, but what was the nature of their relationship as far as you know?
I think they were friends, and I think that they were business partners. Well, partners, too strong a word, but they did business together.
So did you, again, I want to stay focused on the time when you were the most involved in his life. So
The 90s.
the early 90s through
And
early
the
2000s.
beginning of the 2000s, yes.
Did you, so we talked about 4 people. So
There's more.
Were there more?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, there were more. There was a lady whose name I just can't. Can I get my book? Maybe I wrote them down.
Sure.
Wait, where am I going? Epstein wouldn't really let me meet his clients.
What book are you, what is that?
I'd write some notes for the meeting.
Okay, great.
Is that right?
No, that's fine. I just was curious what we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Not the birthday book.
It's not the
No,
book.
we're going to come to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. I wrote down some things I tried to make. I just want you to understand my memory's not as good as it was because when I was in Brooklyn, I was in the SHU for almost 2 years and I was on suicide watch for almost 2 years, which meant that they woke me up every 15 minutes for the entire time. And it really did affect my ability to
Understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
So you've taken some notes.
I
in
just made some names
anticipation.
in,
Yeah, okay.
in advance
So go
of
ahead.
it,
So,
and you're happy to look at them.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, funny you say. First 2 names. 1 is Wexner, 2 is Staley, 3 is Leon Black.
Okay.
Glenn Dubin was a
Okay.
client.
Who's that?
Eva Dubin's husband.
What was there? I mean, if you can, do you know when that relationship
Whenever,
started?
well, wouldn't have been before they got married for sure. So we're going to date that from wherever that was. And then Epstein was heavily involved with Highbridge Capital and financing or selling of Highbridge to J.P. Morgan.
Okay. Go ahead. Has a Dublin? Yep.
Okay, you're only looking for clients, so. All right, there's a woman, there's a woman in Ohio. I just can't think of her name, but I tried to remember it yesterday and I can't.
So this is a good thing, like, as you think of things, write it down. And if they have any other names, I'll ask you, but
Right.
don't force it out. So you'll have time to think about this, especially today, this afternoon, overnight. We'll
Right.
probably meet tomorrow.
But you can find them. I mean, if you basically find a billionaire, female,
So there's a woman in Ohio who's wealthy.
yeah, well,
and he
you can
was-
identify her yourself because she had the largest Klein painting. It was huge, so you can find her because it'll be in the
Okay.
museum. So that's her.
So that was one of Mr. Epstein's clients. She was one of Mr. Epstein's clients as well.
Yes.
Okay. Who else?
Well, I think that there was other people that he would assist. I know that he helped Lynn Forrester, who became Linda Rothschild. She'll deny it, and she has, but she can't.
And when you say help, the same
Well,
help in business or what help?
No, I have no idea what he did for her. I know he helped her financially. Her husband was the controller of New York. So, but I don't, again, I'm not inside his business, but he would have, this notion that he blackmailed men, we don't really have to go there, that he wasn't a businessman and that everything he did was a fraud or a funk or whatever. I don't believe that to be true.
Why?
Sorry?
Why do you, so you say you don't believe it to be true, but show me why you think that. Just from, I know you've been talking about it, that he was very conscientious. He was very good at math. He was paid a lot of attention to his clients, but yes, you're right. There's allegations of blackmail, or also that there was some level of fraud involved in what he did, and you don't believe it. Why do you say that?
Well, let me rephrase that. If there was fraud, I never saw it. What I saw, or what I felt when I ran that office. I mean, I was responsible for the staff. People worked. There were lawyers. There were accountants. I never heard him. I never felt anything icky.
Did you ever see him blackmail a client? Did you ever see him blackmail a friend or an acquaintance?
No.
Well, so I think when folks talk about blackmail, and we can talk about, we can talk about that now. There are a lot of allegations about him, which we should talk about, and we can do that now. And the fact that he abused young women.
Yes.
Full stop. Okay. Which means the way that I'm defining abuse, as has been widely reported, is that he would cause young women in high school to be recruited to come to his house and give them massages, and as part of that, he would sexually abuse them. Okay?
Yes.
So I want to talk about that. But as it relates to blackmail, the question is whether you're aware of any time that any of the individuals we're talking about, and we'll talk about others, received massages from women who were under 18 or may have been under 18, and that whether there was any sexual assaults or sexual contact between any of these people and those masseuses, which would have allowed then Mr. Epstein potentially to blackmail them and say, you have to continue to work with me, or you have to give me money, or else I'm going to tell the world that you did this.
Right. I think this is a really good place to start with how this story began.
Okay.
So let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody. Going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video or photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance. And I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in any private area of a home.
In a room where there were massages given.
Inappropriate. I would say I would define appropriate surveillance to be the front door of a house, or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
So I just want to come back to, I know I'm just hopefully staying in the obvious, but when you say the houses, you're talking about his New York
Yes.
brownstone.
Yes.
You're talking about the island in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You're talking about the residence in Palm Beach.
Yes.
And you're talking about the ranch in New Mexico.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Paris.
And in Paris. And so.
And the plane. I saw some ridiculous thing with the plane that was not my doing. Yes. I didn't hire any electrician on the plane.
So unequivocally, from what you know, and you only know what you know.
I only know what I know.
But from what you know, you do not believe a camera exists, or a video camera, or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences.
Correct.
So even the appropriate cameras that you just talked about, which would be kind of exterior security cameras, did you know whether there was any cameras that you're aware of inside any of the locations?
Never, with one exception.
Okay, what's the exception?
The exception is Palm Beach.
Okay.
And the reason, so in Palm Beach, Epstein was having money stolen. He noticed money was being stolen from his briefcase, call it his briefcase. And he called in the Palm Beach police, and the Palm Beach police, installed cameras on where he kept his briefcase.
Where was that? Do you remember?
At his desk. So the house on the ground floor was, he had a desk sort of in a corner. There was that camera. I think there was another camera. I think there were 2 or maybe 3 cameras. I believe only on the ground floor, wherever he may have had, maybe he had another office in the cabana. There may be a camera there.
When was this?
This is an interesting situation here as it relates to the video, because even in situations like P. Diddy, they have video. And it seems like and I'm not the expert. I don't have a whole lot of research on this, but it seems like that if they did have video, it would have been brought out somewhere. There would have been issues of, we want to see the videos. Here, all we're getting is we want to see the list. And here we can tell there's evidently no list because, as it was mentioned earlier, she didn't know any of the clients. She wasn't privy to being introduced to clients. So therefore, it wouldn't seem like there's a list, and it could only be the ones she knows as clients if there is a list. So no video, no list. Looking pretty dismal as it relates to trying to connect Epstein to anybody else. Just saying.
I'm not looking for an exact date, but what time period are you thinking about when you say this?
2003. I think I can date it for you precisely, actually. 2003, I'm pretty firm on that date. And I can be firm because John Alessi, the butler, was fired in the end of 2002, and he was the thief.
So aside from law enforcement installing a camera to try to catch somebody stealing money from Mr. Epstein, you're not aware of any cameras at the island? No? Sorry, just so we record it. No, no, that's okay. You were nodding your head no. So what about...
No cameras anywhere outside of possibly things that I would consider normal. So the garage gate, something like that, a front door.
Outside, like security cameras.
Security cameras. And there were cameras inside in the 71st Street that did the plant, the physical plant, because it was a commercial building. So you had the whole, that's a real thing, that's a commercial building. And there was one camera on the front door, from the internal that did the front door, as I recall. But there were no other cameras inside the house.
Did you ever, how about photographs? Did you ever observe Mr. Epstein or anybody around him take pictures of anybody in compromising positions with women or with anybody?
No.
Did you ever hear, when you were present for conversations that Mr. Epstein was having or others were having, anybody accuse him of blackmailing them or of trying to extort them because of something Mr. Epstein knew?
No.
There have been, and you, in the discovery you got in the New York case, okay?
Yes.
And in the civil cases that you've been part of associated with Mr. Epstein, have you ever been given or ever been told that video exists like what we're talking about, or photos were taken that were compromising?
So in both of those, I received no pictures or anything from the civil case. But in the criminal case, I received videos of Epstein talking to women and stuff like that. I did get those. I also saw binders, photographs of women, indeterminate. I never saw anything. I don't know how old some of these women were. There were definitely some of the victims from Palm Beach, that photographs of them
in those photographs, were the victims that were photographed, were there any of the people you talked about, like were there men with the victims, or were they just photographs of the victims?
There was no men with these pictures. There was no client of his with those pictures. They would be standalone, for want of a better word, like modeling shots. If you were
pictures that Epstein had with the girls, but not Epstein with the clients and the girls.
Correct.
Did you, I understand you said you got those in the discovery. Did you know those pictures like that existed? So right now I'm talking about photographs of victims or photographs of women that Mr. Epstein had on his computer or wherever he had them. Did you know that those photos existed before you got them in discovery?
Some of them, absolutely, because they were in his house. Some of these pictures were on his, credenza or whatever. Some pictures I've simply never seen before. I mean, I'd never seen some of them. Some of them I had, some of them I hadn't. I mean,
did you? So you're right, and I accept that having video or photographs of somebody famous or powerful in a compromising position would be good blackmail. But so separate, putting aside what you said about the fact that you don't know of any existence of those, did you observe over the years the folks we're talking about, or others, which we can talk about, getting massages from young women?
So I think it's really helpful to understand a few things that has been missed in this whole Michigas.
That's a technical term.
I'll look it up later. Go ahead.
I've thought about this obviously a lot, and I've given it some. So this is the benefit of some benefit of what I saw and some benefit of what I now think. So just for clarity's sake, I just want to say for the record that I do believe that Epstein did a lot of, not all, but some of what he's accused of. And I'm not here to defend him in any respect whatsoever. I don't want to, and I don't think he requires nor deserves any type of protection or for me in any way to sugarcoat what he did or didn't do. So there's that. However, the man I met and the man he became, I believe that there is a progression. And I don't think that the man I met is the man that he became. I believe he became that man over a period of time. Now, we can discuss anything you want, and I'll tell you everything I know. But I think somebody who has an interest, however you define that, in underage people is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to, I think. Because
Glenn, before you get into all that, let's answer the top line question and then get into it.
Okay, the top line question is,
did you ever see any of these people with underage?
No. So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time we were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. That description, I think that this, what you're talking about, is a later version.
Yeah, and
is that?
no, I understand that, and I do want to talk. I'm not.
So it's just I think you need to separate the periods of time.
Sure.
Because this one of the things that was definitely missing in my trial and definitely missing from the narrative is this notion, this everything happened and he was always been. No, I don't believe that to be true.
So that's fine, and I do want to talk about that. I'm not pushing that away. I'm just putting it aside for a moment. What Mr. Epstein did, and frankly, what you did or are accused of doing, is one thing that we'll talk about. But what I want to understand is whether one of the ways that Mr. Epstein befriended his clients or took care of them, or some would say blackmailed them, was by encouraging them to interact with women, underage or not.
So I think in the 90s he may have encouraged them, but these were people who were in their 20s or 30s.
So
he would have a masseuse, right? And he did, male and female, by the way, in the 90s. It's never been discussed, both in yoga and everything. There were men as well as women. And so if he would travel, and I can show them to you, I highlighted them on the flight record so you can see that there really were men that were also there. He would say, would you like to do yoga with Tito, or would you like a massage with this one? But they would be in their late 20s and professional masseuses.
So
I think there's a distinction.
And I want to talk about actual individuals here, and I understand the distinction between somebody who's an adult and someone who's underage. But even with somebody who's an adult, did you know Mr. Epstein to encourage folks to do that, whether it's a client or somebody else?
I certainly witnessed him. So if you were staying with him and you had a massage, that he would often travel with a masseuse. He would say, hey, would you like a massage? And he did do that, yes.
But would you or him or anybody else follow up with a masseuse afterwards to find out if there was any inappropriate sexual contact?
I never did, no.
So meaning, and then coming back to the blackmail issue, there's nothing wrong with getting a massage, of course not. Especially if somebody's obviously an adult masseuse. I'm not quibbling with that. But my question is that there's a lot of accusations that Mr. Epstein was successful was through this idea of blackmail. And yes, young women is a crime, children is a crime, but even women over the age of 18, if Mr. Epstein encourage these men or whomever to get massages and have inappropriate sexual contact with the masseuses, that's a separate issue, maybe slightly nuanced, but did you ever know him to do that?
I never did, absolutely, myself. I never heard him ask someone. I never heard that. No one, in the entire time I was with him or friends with him or had anyone, no one ever reported to me or came to me and said that anything inappropriate happened or was upset by. I never saw tears, and never saw ever any of that.
And when you say no one reports to me, meaning like masseuses or any of the house staff?
Never.
Or the clients themselves?
Never.
Okay, so let's, again, I want to stay, and coming back now to what you were talking about a moment ago with Mr. Epstein's kind of progression or getting worse, so just staying within the 90s, what role did you have, or what did you observe, which are two different issues, but both important, with respect to recruiting masseuses to come to either, I guess, Palm Beach or to travel or eventually New Mexico? What role did you have in that?
He asked me to find masseuses for him.
Say it again?
He asked me if I could find him masseuses.
Like as part of, like you said, you were a general manager, so as part of all your duties, that was one.
And I did do that. So the first person I believe that I introduced him to as a masseuse was somebody called. She was, I don't know, late 20s, professional masseuse.
Was this something that happened early on in your relationship, or, and again, I know we're talking about the 90s, but are we talking about early 90s, or is this later on?
So in terms of massage, I have a lot of injuries. I do a lot of dangerous sports and have had multiple serious accidents and walk without any lameness because of physical therapy and massage. That to me is it's medicinal for me. So Epstein, whatever his massage situation, whatever, he loved massage. And if I met somebody who I thought was a good masseuse or masseur, I introduced them. And because I got them and he asked me if I did, and I said yes. And I'm pretty sure that would have, well, I don't remember, 93, 92, early, from the beginning.
So go ahead. So then what happens over the next you know, like there's a ton of writing and a ton of, I guess, testimony as well, but also public reporting about how the recruiting was a very aggressive effort that you were part of, that he was a part of, and others, to try to find more and more masseuses. What is that true, and what role did you have in that?
That is partially true. Okay. So it is true that I found masseuses, and he became more insistent. He like knew all the time. He got bored. So he would be bored with a masseuse, and he would say, "Find me a new masseuse." I was like, I am the entire opposite. If I find someone that I like, I stay with them. I'm like, I don't want new. He would drive for new. So that is true. And in my effort to find them, I would go to massage spas, like legitimate spas. We're not talking, you know, funky ones that people have. So, if I got a massage from somebody in a spa that I liked, I asked them if they would do home visits. If they said yes, I would ask them to come to the house, and they would see if he liked them or not. But these were people who worked in spas. I never ever checked their age, and I never checked their credentials. I never asked for a certificate.
What?
But just to be clear, you never thought anybody was underage.
I never crossed. No, that was never my. That was never a drive.
What did you know at the time about him, Mr. Epstein, requiring masseuses to be naked, or requiring masseuses to either perform sexual favors for Mr. Epstein, or to be there if Mr. Epstein masturbated, or things like that? And again, I'm asking you about a 15-year period, or whatever, 10-year period. So I appreciate it's a very broad question. So answer it in a way that, you know, addresses what you've been charged with doing, but also what's been said about you.
Okay, so the 90s, I don't think that I ever thought, that never would cross my mind. I'm not sure that I thought about that in those contexts at all until his arrest and those papers came out. But I believe the subject of the question that you're asking me, I believe started in the 2000s.
So in the 2000 time period.
Yes, 2000.
Why do you think, like, what in your mind makes you think that that's the time that it started?
I think because in December of 2001, he met, and I think was responsible for that in its entirety. And the reason I believe that, so this.
Imagine that. One name that she gives of something she does know, and it's bleeped out. Particularly relating to the incidents of when he was arrested, and then she started thinking about it, and that's a name that popped up, and it's bleeped out. Interesting.
She was a self-confessed, having been sexually abused as a young girl, and was trained, her words, I'm quoting now, not mine, in all the arts of whatever that is, a sex program, by a man called Ron Eppinger, who was her pimp from when she was 14, I believe, or 15, I don't know. And in her book describes him training her to be what every man wants in all its manners, fellatio and everything else. I believe that then what happened was that he met her, and she came as a masseuse to his house in December of 2001 is when I think it started. Now, what their relationship was and what happened with them in that early period of time, I cannot say. What I can say is that he liked her, and she started to travel with him at that time period. I know then what happened was that when she first started to see him, or first came into his orbit as his masseuse or whatever, she was engaged to be married and wearing an engagement ring, and was living with her fiance. She broke up after a few months with her fiance and took up with the local drug dealer. So let's say after 4 or 5 months in the time period when she was seeing Epstein, let's say we're now May, June of 2002, or was it from whenever she hits the, whatever that is, if that's 2000, I think it's 2000, sorry. I think it's when she met him, December of 2000. So then you go through, I don't remember, you'll have to look.
Okay. I'm not holding you to exactly.
No, I mean, I'm giving the, so then I think, so she takes up with the local drug dealer, and she becomes druggy, like, we know how druggies, well, maybe don't. I live with a lot in Tallahassee, they become even more unreliable than normal. And at some point, she's now working somewhere else. He stops seeing her because he doesn't like people who do drugs. And I think that not seeing her lasted 5 or 6 months. And in that period of time, she got arrested for theft. And she had a warrant out for her arrest. Now this I've pieced together because this piece I didn't know. She then called Epstein to have help avoiding the warrant for her arrest. And he sent her to Thailand to get a massage therapy license. This is the bit that I guess. This is the bit that I extrapolated. In the period of time from when she came back to when she left, he asked her to replace herself as his masseuse or whatever she was doing. And she brought the first replacement for her that would have been one of the accusers in my case, I think, would have been and then everyone who came subsequent simultaneously, if she wasn't the first, I don't know. Everyone, every
So we have an accuser that was bleeped out, and the accuser evidently comes from the masseuse as a replacement, by the masseuse's choice as a replacement. And it's implying that that might have been a younger gal as a replacement. That's what I'm getting from it.
single person who came to his house came through, and her boyfriend Tony, and then whoever else underneath, and that is how it started.
So before her,
Tony Figueroa is her boyfriend.
before her, so now going back into the 90s, you don't believe that Mr. Epstein was abusing masseuses
Underage.
or overage. I mean, I think I'm using abuse in the broadest sense of the word because I'm assuming that you said that you have no idea whether you always assumed the masseuses were overage, right? So when I'm talking about abuse, I'm even talking about an adult masseuse comes in to give a massage and is told to take off their clothes, told they're not going to get paid if they don't keep their clothes, basically suggested they had to watch him masturbate, like the things that have been publicly said about what he did. For now, I'm not distinguishing adults or young or underage women for that. I'm
going to think that would have been a habit.
Okay.
I'm going to say that the massage game was a habit.
What does that mean?
That means that I'm sure that he didn't suddenly start having relations with masseuses in 2002.
Okay.
I'm sure he must have had relations with masseuses. Who knows when.
But you're saying, as far as you, I use the word abuse, you're saying that as far as you sit here today, you would describe that more as consensual, meaning the masseuse did this willingly.
I saw him with lots of masseuses. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back or whatever. So based on my observation, I don't think that if you are being raped, as now he's like this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would return.
It's not what you observed at the time.
Not what I observed at the time, no.
We're going to spend more time on this issue because I think it's important. But just going back to kind of the question that I started with in this area, which is that it ties into the blackmail issue. So we talked about people that were his clients, and you've mentioned President Clinton, and then early on.
Oh, I never said he was a client.
I did not say so. I'm saying you talk about his clients.
Oh, okay, right.
And then put his clients off to the side. And then you mentioned some other people. You mentioned President Clinton. You mentioned President Trump early on. Who were other famous / politicians? Who were other individuals in Mr. Epstein's life during that time period? So the early 90s.
It was the 90s. Should we just?
Yes.
Okay. Congressman Macmillan.
Say it again.
Macmillan.
Okay.
Henry Rozovsky, who was the provost of Harvard.
Sure. You're looking at your notes. Yes. Go ahead.
Joe Pagano, Jerry Goldsmith, Joe Roberts, Kenny Lipper, Dan Abramson. I don't know if in the 90s, Tom Pritzker, Ace, Jimmy Kane, Lou Ranieri. I mean, there were.
What about the royal family?
No, we didn't know them in the 90s.
What about what about Prince Andrew?
Didn't know him in the 90s.
Oh
well, is that right?
I wasn't there. So I don't want you to have to worry about exact dates. You're not positive about that, but you don't have a specific recollection of that being in the 90s.
No.
Okay.
I can date it for you, I think, but I can't give you.
That's okay. That's fine. So with respect to and we'll take a break in a minute to get some food. But just with respect to with respect to the individuals you just talked about. So again, focus on the 90s. And so the people that I'm talking about right now, and we might add some names later. So we're talking about the clients that he worked with, which you've mentioned several of, and I know that wasn't exhaustive, but you mentioned several of them. And then the kind of what I call famous friends, but the prominent individuals that were in his life in the 90s. Does any stick out in your mind as having received massages? All of them.
Henry Rozovsky received a massage.
And why does that stick out in your memory?
Because I saw him in a bathroom at 71st Street, and he had received a massage. He told me.
And do you know whether there was any whether the masseuse was naked during that massage? Do you know whether
I doubted he was like in his 80s. I doubted he was like in his 80s.
Okay, so but do you know? Not saying his age. Say it again.
Minsky was another person.
Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't. So that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe. Well, obviously they traveled. They went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
And you mentioned that early, in the very beginning of the conversation, you mentioned President Trump in the early 90s.
Yes.
What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein?
Well, I just want to say for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, well, I believe I may have, because it was my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him?
I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together, and I remember the few times I observed them together that they were friendly. I mean,
Was that in
friendly.
social settings or was that in private settings?
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach?
I have.
And what time period are you thinking about when you say yes?
I don't remember when the president purchased Mar-a-Lago, so from whenever it turned into the club, I went there, and I was not going there. So
Did you go there alone or with Mr. Epstein?
mostly alone.
You
The
know
times
what-
I went there was for an event, maybe once or twice.
And do you know whether Mr. Epstein ever went there?
I believe he did, but again, we really were. He didn't take me with him all the time, so he would go and. Oh, right. He never. I never. Well, he did from time to time, but he would go alone. I think he would maybe go himself to the spa. I certainly did.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe? You said that you were. I mean, have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And photographs. I think you're in some of the photographs
Yes.
as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes.
Do you,
That's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein. I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of. I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
when's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not sometime in the mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done?
So as far as Ghislaine Maxwell is concerned, the interactions with Trump from her perspective were merely social interactions. One name that did get mentioned and contexted as social interactions. Interesting.
On anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never, in
And
any context.
do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving massages to private massages to Mr. Epstein? I'm not asking what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, you know whether that's true.
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't remember. I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that.
Okay, so what I think we should do now, it's about 12:15. We'll take a break, and we will come back in a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm going to cut it here because it doesn't seem like we're going to get much out of it. But I did want to put it out there and show you what happens in these kind of and notice it's not a hearing, it's not a court trial or anything like that. It's just a interview for truth. And noticed at the beginning that she could get criminal charges if she lied, and she has immunity so long as she just speaks the truth in this non-court setting. So again, when it comes to all these expectations in this shit show in the real world and what you're paying for and what you get, remember the position that you play and maybe change the position that you play. Maybe start getting involved. Maybe start putting forth your own efforts in making sure that this society is a society that you want, because you're one of the ones giving it direction. You're one of the ones that's upstanding and putting forth the aptitude of knowledge, which again is the base foundation, I believe, in what's going wrong with today in our modern society. We're involved with all this technology and we think that's knowledge, and that's not really knowledge. That's an expanse of knowledge, but the foundation of knowledge is your true natural observances and the real world. And again, the only way that we can try to help embed a moral and ethical foundation is by being moral and ethical ourselves. And that oftentimes doesn't need any great knowledge. It's just a basic, simple concept that it is expressed in almost every religion I've ever researched, and that is to do unto each other as you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, owing no man anything but to love one another, treating each other equal, even though you may not be equal, things like that. So again, if you're going to be paying tribute to this false patriarch and getting caught up in the shit show, it's probably because that's what you want. So, you know, think again about what the shit show is and whether that's really what you want to watch. And if it's not, then start writing the script yourself by getting involved, getting that education and that knowledge and becoming involved. My apologies. Let me pull that back up again. I don't know how that happened. Hit the wrong button somewhere. And get you all set up here again.
It's a shit show, but it's a hit, yo. Panel full of talkers, all bark, no soul. Drama's on tap, spilling fast and loud. Dollar signs flashing when they rile the crowd. Super chats rolling, they pay for the beef. Truth takes a backseat, clouds the belief. It's a shit show, baby, primetime gold. Numbers climb high while the morals get sold. Turn up the heat, let the chaos flow. Ain't about truth, it's a rodeo. If the views keep coming and the cash still grow, I'll stop the circus, let the madness go. Fake tears fall and the mic gets cut. One's playing victim, the other talks tough. Receipts get dropped, now the chat's on fire. A digital bonfire built from liars. But every low blow makes the money ring, so they keep on dancing in that drama swing. It's a shit show, baby, primetime gold. Numbers climb high while the malls get sold. Turn up the heat, let the chaos flow. Ain't no God truth, it's a radio. If the views keep coming and the cash still grow, I stop the circus, let the madness go. There's a spotlight on the petty, and fame's just clicks away. They don't care who they bury, as long as someone pays. It's a shit show, baby, but the lights still shine. Even fake crowns look good online. One big game where the real get paid, but the scoreboard's few, so the lights stay paid. Yeah, it's messy, ugly, and kind of slow, but welcome y'all to the shit show.
And there you have it, folks. And you know me, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That part is on you. So may your God bless you and have a good day. We'll see everybody next time. Be blessed.